Jay Tatler of PJ Media, non-citizens in American elections are voting. And the federal government refuses to do anything to stop it. Worse, the Obama administration seems to be doing everything they can to prevent the states from trying to stop it. And let's be clear, it's the red states trying to stop it. The blue states don't care. It's more voters for them. Why don't we just send ballots to 7 billion people? Now, I don't think the seriousness of this can be overstated. This is a destruction of the voting franchise. If people are voting who are not citizens, if people who are voting who are newly imported into the country, and the federal government, the Democrat Party, it's almost one and the same, are taking steps to ensure that they can vote, well, we have nothing left. We have nothing left. I mean, the vote is what represents the consent of the governed, and more the decisions are being made by government entities that don't care about the consent of the governed, the courts, and particularly the massive bureaucracy that institutes thousands of laws every single year, often in defiance of Congress. But on top of that, we have the vote left, and the vote's being destroyed. The nature of the citizen is being destroyed. So the current administration is doing everything it can to prevent states from trying to stop what's going on. And I might add as a side point, Landmark Legal Foundation is involved in many of these cases. So full disclosure, and I'm proud of it. First, the Fed sued states that asked people to present ID before voting. Now the administration will not let states even ask people to establish their citizens when they register to vote. What's wrong with that? Oh, it's racist. Oh, okay, thanks. That's the underlying plot in the latest major case in election law that has just been presented to the Supreme Court of the United States. Federal law says that states must accept and use a federal form for registering voters. But the federal form doesn't require any proof that the person submitting the form is a citizen. The form just asks the registrant to check a box. So this is made for ACORN, the SEIU, all the leftist organizations. Meanwhile, federal law mandates that voter registration forms be made available and pushed everywhere from licensing branches to welfare offices. From personal experience as an immigrant, writes Joseph Vanderholst, I had a driver's license, a social security number, and I lived in this country for several years before I became a citizen. I had plenty of opportunities to fill out the federal voter registration form. I never did, of course. But what if I did? And what if I didn't know any better? His point is it's being pushed. Or that surely I wouldn't be added to the voter rolls if I checked the box claiming I was not a citizen. But that's not what's happening. Non-citizens are offered the voter registration forms all over the country, and they're filling them out, and they're being added to the rolls regardless of which box they check. And it goes on. And it goes on. The Constitution says that the states get to decide the qualifications for the voters. This is very, very important for you to understand. If you read the Liberty Amendments, it's in there. And let me elaborate on this. This is very important. At the time of the ratification conventions in the states, one of a number of issues raised by state delegates at their state conventions was who would control the qualifications for voting. And the decision was made at the Constitutional Convention and defended throughout the state conventions. Don't worry about it, because when it comes to the federal government, the only role the feds will have is on the qualifications of people for federal office. The states will still decide who can vote. Now, since then, we've had some changes, based on race and this sort of thing. But that's not what we're talking about here. We are now talking about Obama telling the states that they can't ask people registering to vote to demonstrate that they're American citizens, which is the only basis on which they can establish the right to vote if they reach the age requirements. And the federal government's saying no. The federal government has no constitutional authority to say no. Our history says no. The state convention process said no. But it doesn't matter, does it? None of it matters. The states get to decide these things. The time, the place, the manner of federal elections are decided by the federal government. They get to decide federal offices. They don't get to decide the issue of qualifications generally. But why is this even a debate? How corrupt have we become? How corrupt has this government become? where there's even an argument that people shouldn't have to establish their citizens before they register to vote. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Barack Obama loves America with all his heart and soul, don't you know? No, he hates America the way he hates Israel, the way he hates Britain. It's payback time. That's what this is all about. Story after story I've pointed out to you. How whites will be in the minority in 2050, and it's celebrated. Why is that celebrated? Why is that a goal of immigration in a majority white country? Is it a goal of immigration in a majority white country for whites to be a minority? I'm just saying, I don't think this way. You don't think this way. I'm commenting on these articles that are out there and others who seem to think this way. Wow, look at that. We're going to be in the minority. Let's go. Faster, faster, faster. What is that? That's not a legitimate basis for immigration rules and laws. And yet it's stated over and over and over again as it's to be celebrated. And you have these fools like Jeb Bush. Like poor, stupid Jeb Bush, the dumbest of the Bushes. Oh, he absolutely is. The dumbest of the Bushes. The 11 million people here have a human right, or such, to get on the pathway to legalization and eventually citizenship. Now, who's ever heard of anything so stupid? People come here in violation of our law, and the fact that they've been able to hide out for 5 years or whatever it is means they love the country, means they should become citizens ultimately? That's not immigration, ladies and gentlemen. That's anarchy. That's national suicide, particularly with a massive welfare state. And you have Republicans advocating this. The Bush family's always been for this, as have their surrogates. Have had the phony economists who don't read the studies, who don't read the statistics. One of the things I've done in my new book, it'll be out in August, I'm just mentioning it to you, is I've addressed this in my immigration chapter. I'm taking on all these subjects, ladies and gentlemen, all of them, and I'm breaking them down piece by piece. And I'm breaking them down not just as an academic exercise. I am breaking them down specifically to show parents and grandparents, specifically to show young people, specifically to talk about the future of this country. Open borders of this sort not only threaten us criminally, not only threaten us in terms of our national security and terrorism, they are destroying future opportunities for your children and grandchildren. They're destroying them. And the U.S. Chamber of Crony Capitalism doesn't care. And the Republican Party doesn't care. All this gobbledygook about compassion and so forth. Look at your children and your grandchildren. That's your first priority. And that's our government's first priority. I talked about the minimum wage yesterday, very, very briefly. We'll get into this much more deeply come August. I dig into Obamacare, other entitlements, the educational system, which is a massive expense. Oh, and I break that down into 100 pieces. I'm actually not allowed to even get into this, according to my publisher. It's too early. The cover of the book hasn't even been selected yet.